Hello everyone, today we're looking at the topic of area of compound shapes, also sometimes known as area of composite shapes, just involving rectangles and triangles. So before we go into that, we're going to quickly recap the area of a rectangle and the area of a triangle, and then go into how to work out the area of compound shapes. So if we look at the board in front of us, we can see quite clearly our two formulae for the area of a rectangle, which is the length times by the width, and the area of a triangle, which is the base times the perpendicular height, the height which is with the 90 degrees, divided by 2, which are in my previous videos, which we'll put at the bottom in the link below. But if we're looking over here and I want to work out the area of this rectangle over here, we simply need to label our length and width. The length is the longest length, which is the 10, and the width is the 8. So we can say area is length times by width, which is 10 times by 8, which is 80 centimeters squared. And that is our area of our rectangle. Now for the triangle, we have a base of 10 centimeters and we have a perpendicular height of 8 centimeters, as we can see with this right angle over here. So our base is 10, our height is 8. So we can say area is equal to base times by height divided by 2, and that is 10 times 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 10 times 8 is 80, divided by 2 is 40 centimeters squared. So that is our recap of area of a rectangle and area of a triangle. Now, when we talk about a composite shape or a compound shape, this refers to a shape that is made from two or more other shapes put together. So we've got two situations on the left-hand side, or two different composite shapes. Now, this over here, we can't work out this shape as a whole. Effectively, what we could do, though, is we could split it into smaller shapes that we know how to work the area of. And what we can see is if I draw a line vertically downwards over here, I can create a rectangle on the left and a rectangle on the right. Now, I also could have instead drawn a line horizontally across this way, and that is also fine. But what we need to establish, though, if we're going to do that, now either method would have been okay. I normally label these different shapes. So we're going to call this top shape, shape A, and this bottom shape, shape B. Now, we can see shape A here has a length here of 4 centimeters. What we need to do, however, is also work out the length of this line over here. Now, what we may be able to see is if we look at our two vertical lengths, this one over here, this whole length here is 5 centimeters. And that's made up of this length over here and this length over here. So if all of this is 5, we can see from here to here is 3. That means whatever's left over must make up the remainder of that 5, which is 2 centimeters. So that portion there is 2 centimeters. In the same way, if this whole thing over here is 10 centimeters, which we can see like this, we can see that if this portion over here is 4, this bit over here to make the 10 must be 6 centimeters. Now that's not important from the way I've drawn this, but if I'd split it the other way, I would have had to have used that 6. So if we're looking at shape A is a rectangle which is 4 by 2. And if we're doing the area of that, that is the length times by the width, which is 4 times 2, which is 8 centimeters squared. In the same way, shape B is 10 centimeters along the base or the length and 3 centimeters over here. So the area for this is still the length times by the width, which is 10 times by 3, which is 30 centimeters squared. Now, if shape A is 8 centimeters squared and shape B is 30 centimeters squared, we can see our total is therefore 8 plus 30, which is 38 centimeters squared. So what we've done there is we've worked out each shape separately and then added it together at the end. Now, the same applies on the right-hand side. Now, some of you may already establish that this is a trapezium, and if you know how to work out the area of a trapezium, you can do that instead. But what we can also say is this is a rectangle and a triangle combined together if I split this at this point over here. Now, this length over here, the height of our triangle, because this is also 90 degrees, is the same as this. This is also going to be 5 meters. What we do need to work out though is what the base of this triangle is, because this is my rectangle and this is my triangle. But what we know is that if this length here is 8 centimeters, or 8 meters actually in this case, not centimeters, 8 meters to here, the rest of that needs to add to make 14. So if you've got 8 meters, the rest of that must be 6 meters to make that the 14. Now, once again, we're going to have our two shapes, shape A and shape B. Shape A is our rectangle. Shape A is our rectangle. And for our rectangle, the length is 8 meters and the width is 5. If we apply that, area is length times by width, which is 8 times by 5, which is 40 meters squared. Shape B is going to be a triangle. Shape B is our triangle, but this time the base is 6 and the height is 5. If we put this into our formula, base times by height divided by 2, which is equal to 6 times 5 divided by 2. 6 times 5 is 30. Divide that by 2 is equal to 15 meters squared. And then from that, we can now add our two areas together to get our total. So our total is equal to shape A, which was 40, plus shape B, which was 15, giving us a total area of 55 meters squared. So what we've seen there is just simply splitting these shapes up into smaller shapes that we know how to work out and going accordingly. So we look at a slightly more challenging example, but again, effectively along the same lines. And what we have here is one face of a house, which is 8 meters along the ground. The height of the wall is 3 meters, and the height of the house in total is 5 meters. So once again, we need to split this up into two different shapes. There are different ways we can do this, but I think the easiest way is to split this at the roof section and make this into a rectangle at the bottom and a triangle at the top. So here is our shape A, and here is our shape B. Now the shape A at the bottom is simply a length of 8 and a height of 3. If we look at the triangle, the base of the triangle is the same as the base of the house, which is also 8 meters. What we need though is the perpendicular height, which is this length over here. Now, if we look at this quite carefully, we might be able to see that this 3 meters over here is the same as this 3 meters over here. Now that means if all of this is 5, the height of the house is 2 meters. So collectively, we've got that to make our 5 meters. We can now work out the area of each of these shapes. Shape A, which is our rectangle, which we saw over here, is 8 by 3. If we use our formula of length times by width, we get 8 times by 3, which is 24 meters squared. If we now apply the principle for shape B, Shape B is a triangle with a base of 8 and a perpendicular height of 2. So if we apply that to this question and substitute into our formula, the area is the base times by the height divided by 2, which is our base is 8 times by 2 divided by 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8 meters squared, and that enables us to work out our total as 24 plus 8. So total area is 24 plus 8, which is 32 meters squared. So once again, just breaking this up into smaller, easy, more manageable shapes to deal with. Now, in all of these examples, we've seen us adding different shapes together to find our total area at the end. I'm going to now show you one final example, but this time I want us to work out the area of the green shape. Now, what you'll see here is the green shape is a big rectangle with a missing smaller shape, a missing square, and a missing triangle. That means if we're looking at this over here, this is a big shape missing smaller bits. So actually we need to work out the area of the big rectangle and take away the area of the square and the area of the triangle. So if we think about this, the area of the big rectangle shape, or the big shape, put this as a big, is equal to 12 times by 10. Our length is 12 and our height, or our width even, is 10, which is 120 centimeters squared. Now, if I want to work out the area of the smaller square, or the smaller rectangle, or the square actually, but this is 2 by 2. So our area of this shape is simply 2 times by 2, which is 4 centimeters squared. So that's removing one square. We also had a triangle. The triangle over here, which was also 2 by 2. Now the area of the triangle is, as we said, base times by height divided by 2. Base is 2, height is 2, which is 2 times 2 divided by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, divided by 2 is 2, gives us 2 centimeters squared as well. 2 centimeters squared as well. So if I now want to work out the total area, I'm going to take the 120, I'm going to subtract away the 4 and subtract away the 2. So my total is therefore equal to 120 minus 4 minus 2, which gives me a final answer of 114 centimeters squared. And effectively, that is it. That is all that you need to do for these questions. It is always about splitting up into smaller, more manageable shapes, which you know how to work out. We know how to work out the area of a rectangle. We know how to work out the area of a triangle. Anyway, I hope that's made sense. If it hasn't, please leave a comment below or please message me directly. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.